We can look it up. Is this for me, or is this?
Oh, yeah, I just printed it up, I got it this morning. So,
Do you want me to look up?
I don't remember. Do you remember who the alternate is?
Do you remember the alternate?
I didn't bring
Doesn't
my
matter,
master.
they're not here.
I didn't bring my master.
Oh, I can look on the website. You don't need to go.
Grab it.
Tom.
You look on the web?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
There we go. Oh,
that's easy.
John's there, just Jennifer.
Yeah.
Ileana is.
Is John coming?
He said he was gonna make it, remember?
I did.
Oh, Rochelle is the alternate.
Yeah, Rochelle's the alternate, and Bruce Daniels could not,
Well, he's
or
not.
Tom couldn't make it.
Okay.
All right, so that's,
Got the 18.
so that's it.
She said he knows.
That's the roll call.
Thank you, thank you.
True.
So we have
One member of the
Becky
public.
and
Bye.
Bye.
I may have to duck out
Oh, I'm gonna wrap
so we really can help any of
Okay,
He's gonna give us.
so that's the roll call. Okay, the next on the agenda is the oral communications, and I popped one for myself. Do you have any?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to set this down. My name's Becky Steinbruner. I'm a member of the public and a customer of a small water company adjacent to Soquel Creek Water District. I am taking legal action against the district regarding the Pure Water Soquel project. I know my time is limited, so I'm going to first state that because this is the outreach committee, I really would like to see some attention given to the residents of the Live Oak neighborhood that are would be affected by the Chanticleer site, advanced water treatment site. They were not brought in at all when the scope of the project was changed to include the Chanticleer site, and they knew nothing about it. They have filled the boardroom a couple of times once the project was approved, and are very unhappy that they were not brought in and given a chance to participate in the California Environmental Quality Act CEQA process for the project. So I hope that the district will do some extensive outreach there and correct this mistake. So I'd like to use the rest of my time for the benefit of the outreach committee member that is not staff and director here. They've heard this before, but I want to read to you the cause of action regarding the lawsuit. And I'm taking this, I'm not a customer of the district, but I am a member of the community, and I have the legal standing to take this in interest of public benefit and as my citizen's duty. The first cause of action is multiple CEQA violations, including inadequate analysis of impacts to groundwater quality and public health, inadequate analysis of alternatives, and failure to adequately respond to comments on the draft EIR. Second cause of action, violation of CEQA in that the EIR lacks full consideration and analysis of the no project alternative when surface water transfer pilot project is being implemented. Third cause of action, violation of CEQA in that the district certified the project EIR deficient in attention and consideration to areas of known controversy and issues to be resolved. Fourth cause of action, violation of CEQA in that the district board certified the EIR as complete and approved the project on December 18, 2018, despite new and significant information presented publicly at the meeting that had been previously withheld by Director Lather and members of the public, which included County Supervisor John Leopold, until that moment, and which could have altered the lead agency's decision-making, but which were not included in the EIR analysis. Fifth cause of action, violation of CEQA in that the board abused discretionary powers by certifying the project EIR that is void of any comment on the draft EIR from significant trustee agencies, and this most notably is the Department of Fish and Wildlife. Sixth cause of action, a violation of CEQA in that the board certified the project EIR
Thank you.
I'm out of, there are.
Have you printed it out?
More.
Maybe just distribute it to.
I'll give you a copy if you'd like it. It's case
Thank you.
19CV00181, filed in Santa Cruz Superior Court.
Okay,
Thank you.
Just please respect that for a minute.
Well, thank you.
But
I
you
am
can
the
just
only
print it
member
out. You can
I
print it
know,
out.
but it's
of the
important.
public. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So, I guess that, is it, are there any other oral communications?
I just want to say, Waterwise Academy applications opened, and so we have 5 applicants so far.
Oh, wow, this
Okay.
quickly?
From
Congratulations.
Eagles.
what you were telling me
Okay.
about, that's different, okay.
Something else.
Yeah, so that's all.
All right,
And applications close on the 30th.
okay.
I want to
Fantastic, congratulations.
say we're going to be receiving submissions next week from high school students across the Monterey Bay area for the Water Smart Gardening Save Water video contest, and I invite you guys to be judges. If you'd like to, just let me know and I'll send you an online survey.
Thank
They
you.
are interesting to judge.
They're
It
very
is.
fun.
There's 2 phases. It'll be the big group with the 1-question survey, and then the honed down second phase of judging, which is more like 5 questions surveys for videos.
And then what happens with the videos, the winning video or?
They'll be put on TV this summer as part of our, like, water conservation in the summer campaign, so it'll be on KION and KSBW and in the movie theater in the city of Santa Cruz at the Cinema 9 Theater.
Yeah, it seems like it's really gaining more people each year.
Yeah.
You know, video is kind of
Yeah.
the genre.
Well, last year they added Monterey County, so
Yeah, we had
they-
some
Was
all
that
the way
what
from
it was?
Gonzales.
yeah, the Conservation Coalition joined up
Nice.
with the Monterey County.
Water Awareness Committee.
Yeah, so
Nice.
just
Yeah, well,
broaden that
Yeah.
scope and.
Yeah, so this year's theme is waterwise gardening.
yeah.
Okay, so I guess we're on to business, and it's, the first item is something that we felt personally here, the discussion input on clarifying misinformation related to water transfers and pure water Soquel. Because we have been, you know, in recent months, getting a lot of commentary that reveals that people have I encountered it when I was campaigning this last election, misinformation, misunderstanding of what these projects really are, what they want. So we just were looking for some new approaches to reach them, because when I was able to spend 20 minutes or 15 minutes talking to our customers, they were able to see what the issues were, but it's hard to do that for every customer on an individual basis.
So what kind of approaches have you taken so far?
Well, despite, we have actually reached out to the Chanticleer residents. And there was a lot of hurt feelings and misunderstandings, but they wanted to be, the people that we've talked to, who began to understand what the project is about, are very, I'd say they are cautiously supportive at this point. What do you see?
Yeah,
It's a-
I think for the reason why we put this item on the agenda was really just to kind of open it up to the committee members to kind of hear from you, what you may be hearing out in the public, or if you feel that we're not generating information to help inform the customers or to give you the tools to go out. In terms of the water transfer, you know, we're constantly getting newer information as the city of Santa Cruz is going through their process, just as recently as last week, I think that was Monday.
Monday night, do you have that available?
I did, let me go.
Yeah,
Well,
that was
that's-
the
we can
Water
pull it up
Commission
on
and Santa
another
Cruz
agenda.
City's
Okay.
Water Commission
Well, I mean, I can
met
pull up, I can grab the
last
article.
Monday.
Do you want me to
Oh,
grab the article?
okay.
Way to go, Monica.
Yeah.
And then we can hit,
Yeah, and so their project, the water transfer project is not a project, it's still in research, it's in research phases, so that almost every week, they've been coming up with new information and some new findings, and so it's hard to keep current with that.
Well, and it's a challenge, I think, depending on where people are getting their information, right? I mean, and I think that's a general challenge to every organization in this day and age. I mean, I I don't read the paper.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I mean, I get my news on a news feed on my phone most of the time, and a lot of it, I mean, I think there's a dearth of local information that's getting through. So
That's the
that's a
major
big challenge,
casualty.
right? And I don't know what the answer is, because in order to actually get the information that people you're trying to reach, they have to agree to be reached. So
Right.
that's a hurdle.
Right.
I totally get that. I don't have any suggestions on how to do that, unless it's, and we talked about, next door being an outlet, or, although I find that sort of daunting, because it's so
I
all
opted
over
out
the
of it
place,
for mine.
right? You know, it's
You opted
just,
out?
Well, yeah, because it was, we have some stuff, and then the very next feed would be somebody selling their patio furniture. And then there'd be this long stream of comments, oh, was it in good shape, or is it dirty, or what, has it got all the chairs?
Yeah.
And then it just goes on, and then, you know, the other thing
Right.
is lost.
so you don't really have a concentrated,
Yeah.
stream of.
I was wondering if we should show the table they presented, and how to distill that, or do we distill it too?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, well, I think it's the kind of how do we use it? Is it
Right.
the table, or is it, I loved, and you're right, because I think that the readership of the Sentinel has gone down a lot. But just what we're trying to do with the information, and why we put this on there is, I think in terms of the water supply efforts, water transfers and pure water Soquel are like the main topics that kind of come up in terms of how we are informing our customers. And so just last week, Rosemary held she's the water director for the city of Santa Cruz. She held a joint water supply advisory committee meeting and a city of Santa Cruz water commission meeting, and gave an update of their water supply. And that's a lot of the water transfer option that we focus on. And the information that Ron and I have been trying to make sure we share as we talk to people, and how Vi and Becca are gonna be putting it into our community water plan. The new information, that came out was, maybe, do you wanna grab the PowerPoint off of this, and then I'll read this? In no case can Santa
I'm
Cruz
gonna need the key.
consistently provide enough of an annual supply directly to Soquel Creek Water District customers to meet the 1,500 acre foot annual supplemental demand, year after year. And that were the city to provide some supply to Soquel Creek, city water costs are not likely to be cheaper than that of the Pure Water Soquel project, using the very preliminary estimates. And then she goes on to talk a little bit more about their production costs, et cetera. But those two nuggets of information, one is not water reliability is not there for water transfers, and also that the cost would not be cheaper, I think is information coming right from the
We can
city
go
of
on.
Santa
It's
Cruz,
easy for you.
that
As long as you get-
outside and other realms of outreach and education for community members is the exact opposite, that the Pure Water Soquel project is expensive, and that there is more than enough water from the river water, that you don't need pure water. So if you were a community member or a customer out there, it's very hard to distill what's coming from,
Right.
the community,
Right.
what's true, and
That's
how do we do that? And
Right.
so that's where we are always trying to focus on, because we want our customers to try to understand and connect the dots of where the information is coming from. Is it a source that should be counted on? And we feel that information that comes from the city of Santa Cruz, it's their water supply, it's their project, is a trustworthy source that we want to try to integrate, and then build upon any other kind of thing. So have you guys been hearing, I know Carla has talked about things in the public, have you specifically heard about things? No, okay.
It's
So,
not really a topic of conversation out in my circle, and most of the people that I do communicate with are customers, I'm sure, they're in the district, so it's just not something that comes up in casual conversation.
and that's the most.
Which is too bad, I think. I mean, I think if there was a way to generate that kind of casual conversation, and whether it's, I'm not a social media maven or anything, but it seems like that's where everything's going, and that's where nuggets like that could just be distributed, but the problem is, again, it's access. It's like,
It's an
how do we put that
Accidental
out?
access.
How do we get people who need to hear it or who we think should want to know it.
Well, there's this
How
other
do we get
aspect
it to
of
them?
water district, it's an elective office, but after the people pay a little bit of attention and elect somebody,
Yeah,
they expect it to just be taken care of.
right.
And they don't wanna worry about it. I even had one person say, well, I just got elected, re-elected. She said, oh, great. Thankless job you've got there. Everybody attacking you and they're not letting you do your job. And so there's on one hand there's that, and then there's complete apathy. They don't want to be bothered after
Yeah.
they get this election over with. So there's just, right.
Well, I mean, here's what Melanie just read you, here's what was presented the other night, and so, by City of Santa Cruz. And what this is a chart, and it's complicated, and the question's gonna be, how do you convey information like this? So what you see on the left is a bunch of different climate change models, okay? And then in the demand, they've got their near-term demand, and then they've got their 3.2 longer-term demand. And then across the top, it's if they, in the big three columns, 1,500, 500, 300, that's if they don't upgrade the Graham Hill treatment plant to treat to better water quality. And then on the right side is if they do treat it. So if we just look at the highlighted numbers, the question is, could they provide 1,500 acre feet? And there's this, you know, there's a few people, a handful of people saying, hey, there's plenty of water, this will solve your problem. And so that's disingenuous at best. And how do what are your recommendations? Is it numbers? Is it just text that we try to convey? You know, this is complicated.
I think infographics are probably the way to
Infographics,
go.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
No, I do, I mean, my background is, you may remember, is in science museums.
Oh, that's
And,
right.
I'm not a graphic designer, but I have parsed a lot of information out.
Yeah.
And working, I think you guys have a graphic designer, right? Is that you?
Yeah.
So, that would be my suggestion. Now, if you don't have a way to get your beautiful infographic to the public, it doesn't help anything. I think that's maybe the biggest hurdle is reaching the people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have any statistics on how many of the customers read the information you give them, or, I mean, have you done any testing that way in terms of the reach and the retention of the information? And I know you guys go out into the public, I've seen you at the fairs and things around town and with the mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know how much is sticking with people. And that's just been, I mean, that's some place to look for information about how to, or for ways of gathering that information is in the science museum world, because they've done a ton of testing on evaluating, you know, what people take away. And, I mean, unfortunately, it's not much.
Right.
You
Well, so
know,
busy.
it's, people are busy, they're distracted, there's, you know, so much information coming at us all the time. I mean, that's the nut everybody's trying to crack, is how do you make people care about what you care about?
You know, definitely the one-on-one is as good as it gets,
Sure.
right? Eye contact, voice. I was thinking the other day, I just want to throw this out there as a means, you know, we have people streaming in and out of our office every day. Are we maximizing that? I mean, I was wondering, where's that line, like, don't bother me, I'm here to pay my bill or ask about a leak? But where is that an opportunity? I know we have the good display, and I love the video we've done, but is there more? You know, and maybe it's
not
these
on right
folks.
now.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good conversation to have with Valerie and her staff and see, you know,
Maybe it's an
is there an
infographic we-
opportunity? Yeah, maybe it's just a handout that they give to somebody after they pay their
Yeah.
bill, and
Yeah,
be like,
here's
oh,
the
here's
current.
some more information for you. Not sure.
Or even, I mean, I think another, and this is very labor intensive, but asking the question, what do you know, or do you know?
Uh-huh.
Do you know about the project
Yeah.
even?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the best place to start probably, because I'm
That
gonna
would be.
guess,
that's good.
I'm gonna guess that you'd
Yeah.
be surprised at
Yeah.
how many people don't have any
Yeah.
idea. You guys live it,
Yeah.
we don't.
Right. Okay.
Well, actually, it's a fair question, what do you know about it?
Really only what I've learned here,
Uh-huh.
and because I'm interested and because I'm kind of consider myself an environmentalist, what I've learned from Vi when she's been out in public and with the mobile thing.
Uh-huh.
And I would say that this is probably too much. you know, for the casual person, we need a very succinct explanation of what each option is, which this, you probably think this is, but it's
No, this is the,
not.
It's sort of an educational.
it's the second step after what you're
Okay.
talking about, or third
Yeah.
step maybe, you know.
Yeah,
real
so
quick.
I
You
think
wanna
it
know
would be
more?
like infographic with just, this is what pure Soquel is, this is what water transfer is. Done,
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah.
Do you want to know more? Go to this website. I mean, it's really that.
Just so they even hear the names.
Which kind of could lead into our second item, which is the community water plan
Okay.
update.
Okay.
I'll let you.
Well, those are good suggestions, I think.
Oh, there's nothing to drive.
Refocus, because people are really getting wound up and how to explain it.
Right.
I can feel myself getting shrill, you know?
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
people-
and it's so politicized and it's so emotional, I get that, and it's, I don't know how to dial that back, except to
I
start
think
with.
you could just start at the very beginning.
And I would just say one other thing, which is working with the high school students is awesome. And I know one of the board members is a teacher, right? A
Oh, yeah,
science
Tom
teacher.
Hugh, he's
Yeah.
not here today.
So even getting, and they're very persuasive with families,
Mhm.
right? So if you get a junior high or a high school student fired up about something, that's a great way to influence activity
Hear
and
that, Vi?
behavior.
Yeah, I know about it.
I'm just reinforcing.
I've had parents tell me, yeah, after your presentation, I made sure I turned off the water when I was brushing my teeth. My daughter told me to.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I told you that I was helping a young man, one of my son's friends, at my house the other day, and it was a Soquel High, and he had a collection amount of water runoff from a roof for storage, and then he also had a seawater intrusion problem. So I think that was due to
Oh, wow.
your, I know, could you
I
believe
love
that?
hearing that at high school.
Seawater intrusion.
Yeah.
I know, I couldn't believe, I'm like, Ryan, is this real? You know? He said, yeah, this is kind of a neat topic. You know?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's great because it's so local to them.
Yeah.
I think that kids get excited about, you know, nature and wildlife and stuff like that, but also if they could get on their level, if they could really sink their teeth into it, they can be pretty passionate about stuff, you know.
Yeah, no, those are good tips. I did just wanna hit before we move on to
Oh, wait a second.
3.2.
Oh,
I'm still on 3.1, I did
Okay,
wanna just say
okay.
that. So with the water transfers, we are still, working with the city, getting some information. The pilot effort is, coming to an end for this year. They're doing some, data gathering, and then, I think they are trying to get some sort of report that we'll be sharing sometime late summer. For the Pure Water Soquel project, some of the, and so I think that information and misinformation related to the short-term pilot water transfer is a lot about, the water quality, so that'll be, discussed a lot. And then for the Pure Water Soquel project, I think we are right now, talking a lot about again, I think it all boils down to water quality.
Yeah.
So a lot is clarifying that
Yeah.
the water, don't judge the water on the source,
Yeah.
judge it at what it comes out. And that pure water is higher quality than any water. And then in terms of outreach that we're doing, with people along, like where the project would be, we are doing some outreach focused in different areas. So, I think we're working on clarifying and getting people a little bit more, comfortable with how to get that information.
Mhm.
that was the punchline in my campaign. I did kind of that, and then went deeper, you know, as I had willing conversant, you know, conversation. And that is that the water quality was going to be the highest in our mid-county, that the quality of water would be the highest in the county.
Count, period.
Well, yeah, because actually Monterey County, you know, please are having a similar kind of project, and that's a different county altogether.
And do you find, I know that this kind of system has worked well over in many different countries and many different places. Have you compared it to those kinds of places? Like, I don't know, use an example. I remember learning about it because I was did some work with Brent Haddad.
Mhm, mhm.
And so when he told me about tertiary treatment, that was the first time I'd heard about it. He told me the how Singapore,
Right.
just that's how they get their water, and I
Yeah.
was thinking, wow, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. And Singapore has a really high standard of living, and, you know, it's a very well maintained,
Very wealthy,
very
yeah.
Yes.
wealthy, and why
They
would
have
they
money to
wouldn't-
spend on utilities.
Well, but what I'm saying is they wouldn't accept something that was substandard,
Right.
so,
Right, neither will our regulators,
right,
water regulators are.
yeah. But in terms of like, other people do it, it's okay, you know,
Right,
it's,
Well, it's been done for eons.
right.
You know, de facto recycling, because all water that that is fresh water in this whole entire world is recycled water at this point. Including glacier water. It's all been gone through some animal, you know, everything.
Right.
So anyway, but in the recent years, because of this drought crisis and just because other people in California can see the looming crisis, of the water crisis that we're having, there's been a huge amount of research in recycling water. And so I'd say that even what we have right now is, we have a much more knowledgeable
The
system
de facto.
now than even 4 years ago. So it's just, that is how fast this whole field is developing.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing her with your side conversation.
I'm sorry.
They're talking and it's hard for me to focus on
I'm
you.
sorry, but, well, I don't want to lose my train of thought, actually. But anyway, the technology is at a very good point at this, to start to try to implement an actual project. So,
Well, I guess I'm just reading, in terms of outreach and talking to people who aren't as familiar, examples of other places that use similar systems might be helpful to.
we did, when we first came on, that is one thing we discussed, actually, maybe that's a good thing to bounce off you, is going on to demonstrations, there's some demonstration facilities, versus Santa Clara, which is over the hill, and down in Monterey, they have a pilot plant too, that's just, and they're going full on that one.
Yeah.
And, yeah, our project was, as proposed, is so small, it's almost the size of this standard pilot project. So, we had this expert panel recommend that we not even bother with that because it was such a small plant. And, but we do have access to these other places we can organize that, but I wasn't sure. I guess we've talked about it a lot, but we haven't implemented it because it's just.
I don't mean actually visiting them, but just highlighting that it's out there, it's being used. It's not like something that is this new, untested kind
We
of
talk
a
about
system.
Orange County a lot because they've
Uh-huh.
been doing it since the 60s.
Yeah.
And, Disneyland does that with all of their water. So
Oh,
a lot
that's
of- a lot
good
of-
one.
yeah, so I always, when people talk about it, I was like, well, have you been to Disneyland? And most Northern Californians say yes, especially if they've had kids or, as growing up in Northern California, that's where we always went. Yeah, conventions. And then so then I'm like, well, you drink recycled water then? And then they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, okay. And then they just kind of, it's like, oh, I'm still alive. It's fine. Nothing happened to me. Tasted like water, you
Yeah.
know.
And
And so
it's on their website.
It's on their website, yeah.
If you go onto Disneyland, they
They
have this
tout it.
whole environmental sustainability, and they talk about, they're proud of all the
Yeah.
water is recycled
Yeah.
through this process.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
that is neat.
Jennifer, if I could get a little feedback from you, this is a presentation we actually did last night, and we have a lot of this, but in going back to water quality, because that really is central on people's minds with this kind of project, and we want to give them the best information so they can be the most informed and make their best decisions. So one of the things we do is we show them that we had this independent panel, right? They reviewed us, and here's their conclusion of the report. This is all on the web, these sessions we had with these people, and this is the thing. So that's one thing. And we also have plenty of graphs and numbers showing San Lorenzo River water and North Coast before and post treatment that shows constituents in it and our groundwater. And then we show pure water that is the best water quality of all. So we can talk about that, but then this is one of the other things we do to try to convey it is to inform people, if you think about it, Colorado River, all around the world, one city takes water out of a river, uses it, and puts it back in the river at tertiary treated levels.
Secondary.
Secondary, unfortunately.
Secondary. And that's that level right there. And then this is the Chattahoochee, where they dump in 25 million gallons a day of secondary treated water. Here they pull the water out. This is Atlanta, right, Chattahoochee River. And treat it to conventional standards. And that's the key here. And then they dump in 80 million. This happens, you know, many times up and down the river, right? So the point is into this, and I want to get your feedback, your honest feedback on when we show this and say, now here's the kicker to this, is that when they take this water out in the blue, they treat it to conventional standards. So we've got river water with a lot of treated water from multiple places. The water purification, and nobody gets sick, this is all good because the standards they drink when they pull it out, they treat it to conventional surface water standards.
They heavily chlorinate it, basically.
However, potable reuse or pure water type treatment systems treat it many more times, and it's 100 million times more stringent are the regulations, and that's the level they treat it for pathogenic constituents. So when you see that 100 million times, I'm trying to take analytical to a panel to an anecdotal situation that resonates with people. So that 100 million times more stringent treatment for pathogenic chemicals over what we normally do in rivers. I don't know, you know, we presented last night, people seem to turn about it. What's your impression, what's your feedback on presenting that type of material? And then we also show what a facility looks like. This is about the size of the facility we're talking about. So trying to give them real.
And I think, maybe go back to that one slide, because I think there's two things that we can communicate. And I think it goes back to, again, don't judge a water by its source, but by its finished water quality. We've got that illustration that Ron talks about, which is really good, which is pathogens. And typically, you know, it's about water being healthy enough that you're not getting sick from it. Then there's the other layer of things that people are concerned about, which are personal care products, contaminants of emerging concern. Pharmaceuticals. And we have, the city of Santa Cruz has run data on their surface water. We've run data on our groundwater. And we've run and have data from other water agencies on purified water. And again, the purification process, as you go through the microfiltration, the RO, you hit it with the UV light and the advanced oxidation, and that's the part that really destroys most of all of, you know, the CECs. You don't get that in, the finished water of groundwater and surface water has those remaining. And it's a very fine balance for water agencies to say that they're in the water you drink with now, because it meets,
People use
state health, it
septic
meets local,
systems, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Go back into it.
it meets local regulations, state, federal, it's safe to drink. But people, I think, either they don't realize it or they're okay with it in their existing drinking water. They have questions about a new supply, even though that new supply is that much higher than what Ron says. So pathogens
Better water quality.
and the CCs.
Right. So I would go back to an infographic.
The infographic. And so,
Because, I mean, I think it's good to do it in a bulleted, but I'm very visual.
okay,
So if I were to see like the filtration process, you know, existing facility or existing system stops here, pure water extends further,
we tried.
Yeah.
it didn't work.
Well, no,
No,
it's
we-
an evolution on these things.
Yeah, it's been evolving.
Was that the trips to the moon one, or which one?
No,
It's another-
it was kind of this, we never actually finished it, but it was kind of like, you know, conventional treatment ended
Oh, yeah,
here,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
we kept going, and out each line you saw everything that came out as you went to the ends.
Yeah, yeah.
But I need to
So
revisit
for
that.
me, that would be like,
Uh-huh,
oh.
uh-huh.
I mean, I'm already sold, so it doesn't matter, but.
There's some
But-
really cool infographics that we pulled for presentations that we have in the trailer that shows that, like, what is taken out at every stage.
Yeah, because there are specific stages, that's where this
Right.
research has come in, that they've actually researched how many steps it has to go through to become
Yeah.
purified. The output is so pure that they have to actually balance the pH before they put it out into water pipes.
Or into the ground.
Or into the ground. You need it to be more basic.
More basic, okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I would do, I mean, I think
Or
this is
alkaline.
good because it helps people visualize how, water is recycled. But I think also that kind of visual, and then you had some of and you can't do this all the time, but when you have people face to face, having the membranes and filters that are there that people can see and have them associated with the contaminants that are being filtered out, that would be.
Yeah, because you're right, I mean, when we go to this number and we let it slide in, 100 million, this is what I struggle with, people can't wrap their head around
No,
it,
it's
you
way
know?
too
I mean, if
big.
we stacked up dollar bills, it might get some attention, right? But, and that's the part I struggle with trying, and I know we've done like trips to the moon, but even that is hard, you know, there's
Right.
just nothing in our
It's
minds.
mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing, yeah, it's just mind.
Because you can't visualize traveling to the moon, at least I can't,
No,
right?
you're right.
But I can visualize going, yeah, how many trips to Disneyland would it take?
I presented,
100 million.
It was interesting because last week we were presenting at Cabrillo College and I had this similar type slide, and a student asked, goes, why do they overkill it? Why do they treat it so much? And so that was an interesting, we haven't ever had that reaction before, you know? Why do they make it so clean, you know? Is this necessary? I said, well, it's a very conservative industry, you know, water quality and water.
Well, once they have, I mean, people are researching it. Once they research it, they go, well, this is, you can fix this, so you
Right.
should.
Yeah,
And
might
so
as
they do.
well, yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. It wasn't until the 1972 Clean Water Act, the federal one, where they started giving grants to various water treatment plants throughout the country, the ability to upgrade from a primary treatment facility to a secondary, which is just like, but those communities were not going to be able to do that unless they got some money, because that costs a lot of money. Just in Oahu, they're considering a comprehensive, under EPA mandate, they have a suit, a legal order, but you know, from a primary, they're still dumping primary treated sewage into the ocean in Oahu. And so now they're going from a primary treatment system all the way to tertiary, recycled water, and they're gonna do the whole system now, so. But it's gonna cost $340 million. It's gonna be very expensive, but you need big money to actually grapple with observed problems in the water.
Yeah.
So that's the other problem that people are concerned about, is how much money. it
Right,
costs.
sure.
But it takes big money to do it. Investments.
I've got a couple other things
Okay,
going on, so I'm gonna step out on, I think you got enough.
So I
You can
think
stop
we
in
can
later if you want.
Yeah.
Take 3-1 unless there's oral communication.
Pardon
I
me?
think we can move to 3-2 if there's, unless we
Oh,
want to
we
take oral
had
communication.
a public comment.
Thank you. I do have some comments. Becky Steinbrunner. First of all, how can Disneyland serve tertiary recycled water when it's not legal to do so, direct potable reuse in California? I have that question. And, well, it's true that Orange County has done this for a long time. They did have problems with arsenic spikes and when they first began injecting it into the aquifers in indirect potable reuse. And that's something that concerns me a lot, as do the residual levels of hormones and the unknown CECs in the water that react within the sewage to create compounds that nobody knows and nobody is able to test for. So they may not even show up on the analyses or the studies. I have concerns about the nitrosamines, and on the State Water Board website, it talks about NDMA being found in the groundwater in Northern California in areas where there were groundwater recharge efforts using treated sewage water. So I look to that and have a lot of concerns. I would not worry about this if it were not being injected into the groundwater. I would not worry about this if my family were not also depending on this groundwater for our water source, but we have no voice in this, and that is what I have a problem with. The panel, the expert panel that you showed here on this slide, I did attend that meeting, and one of the things I remember them saying was that this is a small project, and it depends on everything working perfectly 100% of the time. And we all know that's not realistic. And you only have to look to what happened in Seaside a little over a year ago with also a state-of-the-art project facility, the One Water, that because no one noticed that there was a malfunction, it dumped 4.9 million gallons of raw sewage into the Monterey Bay before anyone noticed. So I have concerns about the claims that this Pure Water Soquel project would also be have so much redundancy built in, as is the claim of the One Water plant. Regarding the surface water transfer and what you say is misinformation, I would really like to see the district hold a public forum, maybe at Cabrillo College. I mean, I'm a little dismayed that Mr. Duncan gets to go and talk with Cabrillo College students, but the public, the Water for Santa Cruz County people who have presented, gathered the historic information, and have the data from public sources to back up their claims, are not given that opportunity. I would invite the district to have a public forum and invite and include those people. When the
Thank you.
I got your point, thank you.
okay, but it was hard even to get the people running for the board to show up. Only one did.
I know, but you understand that, don't you? I mean, really, we should be encouraging to go to the forum that's coming up right now on April 27th. You can start doing that yourself, too, because all the major people will be there.
Will Water for Santa Cruz be included? Will they be able to have a table?
Invited by,
Let's do a dialogue on that, and Carla and Jennifer, if you guys would like staff to answer any of those, we can take a couple minutes. But I do want to just be mindful, because we do have a couple other items that we want to hit
Yeah.
before the end.
but we can talk about that afterwards. Okay, water.
Okay,
That's
so
you,
the-
Melody.
Yes, so that's our team.
Yeah,
So,
and
the 2015, we did put out, the community water plan. It was this one, I have it. It's an 8.5 by 11 brochure, that has a couple, this was our first attempt at some infographics related to, the different water supply projects and some information. And then, in 2017, we put, an update out, and the board just, asked us to do another update to come out in 2019 to give an update on water conservation, groundwater management, and the water supply efforts. So we'll be doing that. Very timely. The city just put out theirs, so that I just kind of brought this over so that people can kind of see too. They put out an annual report. Theirs follows a little bit more the sequencing of the Water Commission's efforts. The decision-making process for the city at this point doesn't go up until the end of 2020 to the Water Commission, and because, the city municipal is, a super big agency compared to our water district, they do most of their efforts through the Water Commission, and then it goes to, they will be having a meeting, what's the meeting on that one? Kind of on the back.
Water
April,
Commission, the first Monday of every month.
April 23rd, I think, is the city.
It's
been postponed.
Water Commission
Oh,
and
it's
City
been
Council is April 23rd.
Okay.
Rosemary Menard announced after you folks had left
But
that
that's-
it's been postponed.
It's
Okay.
postponed.
So,
So it's not
so that's how they communicate with ours. For ours, we do mail this out.
Goes to every
Goes to every customer, and then we pass them out. So we will be providing, we're hoping that maybe this committee would have a couple volunteers that would help us work through some draft content. The board was interested in kind of having a draft come to them at the second meeting in May. I think I need to look back at this. So if you're interested in that, if anybody's interested, primarily what the 2019 update is gonna do is just kind of give an update on the activities that have occurred since the 2017. A little bit more information related to the water conservation, the goals that we've hit, probably a little bit on the AMI that we'll be rolling out. In terms of groundwater management, we are really just gonna be talking a lot more about the efforts that are happening basin-wide. The Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, which was passed in 2015, created the local Mid-County Groundwater Agency, and they actually have some upcoming milestones that they need to hit. The groundwater sustainability plan has to be adopted in early 2020, so a lot of that effort that we're gonna update in here will be about that, their projects and activities. And then in terms of the new water supplies, obviously there's been a lot of movement on the Pure Water Soquel project, so we'll give an update on the activities related to that. And then the water transfer option of the city of Santa Cruz and the pilot. We have been talking with the city of Santa Cruz, and they want to work with us to make sure that the copy and any information that we share is in concert with them. And we've done that all the time. In terms of desalination, that project is stalled. I think when we first talked about it in here, they were going to be coming out with their EIR. It's still on standby. So the board didn't really want to take it off. There was some discussion at the board meeting to take it off. And it was still kind of like, well, we're watching it, we just don't have to prioritize it. So both with desal and stormwater capture, they still want to include it in here. Maybe not as much landscape. I think the feedback we got from the board was definitely more information on Pure Water Soquel, information on water transfers, and then a smaller amount on stormwater and desal.
Which we kind of did
Which we
in
did.
that one.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just a paragraph each year describing
Yeah.
where the status of the projects,
Yeah.
where they are right now, and why they're less immediate, that they're a less immediate solution to our water situation. It probably doesn't even take a very big paragraph, I would say.
Okay.
So that it's addressed, but the status of
I'd be happy to help with any review.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll probably pass some infographics by your way too,
Okay.
especially with that science museum background. So.
I'd love
We
to help with that.
We actually had a person on the Waterwise Academy who also did learning centers for the parks. Do you remember that?
We did?
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
I
now.
know, I remember he was talking
So-
about her.
I love how we have all these resources.
Yeah, it's fun.
Mhm.
The other Jennifer?
It's
It was a man.
Oh, it was a
It
man.
was a man, and he sat on that side of the table. I don't know his name again. Do you guys have any other information on that?
So you think you'll have drafts out or
In
ready
May.
in May? Okay.
Yeah.
The draft
Is there
will go to
anything
the
as
board
a
second.
customer you would like to see in a community water plan update besides what we're kind of planning?
No, I think they're pretty well done. I'd have to look through it again.
Yeah, take
Yeah,
one.
take one home and look
If
at
any
it.
thoughts come,
What I thought about was if,
give me a call.
this looks like a district,
And then this thing,
if you
Santa
have,
Cruz
is this online?
Yes.
Yes.
They're both online.
Okay,
And
so
that's the
I can
Santa
just look
Cruz
at it
version.
just for continuity's sake to see what's happening, yeah.
Yeah, we likely, I think, should stay with somewhat of the same layout, maybe color or something.
Well, you just want to be able to distinguish it, but
It's
make
a
sure
new one.
it's a new one, so they don't go, oh, we had got
Yeah,
this
we-
last year.
Yeah, we changed the picture.
Yes, change the picture.
We should probably have a whole page about water quality.
See, that
infographics
might
about
be more
that, like
important.
how is MDMA dealt with at the UBAOP stage?
Mhm.
And that's why we have that stage in the purification process to deal with MDMA.
Yeah, you know what, it would be good to think, the way we do the real estate in the handout right now is we do the walkthrough is, like who we are, the district, you know, we're your water agency, and then we do kind of a whole thing on the community water plan and what it is, and then we do one page for conservation, one page for groundwater management, and then we talk about like a one-page intro of the water supplies, and then we did one page of pure water, one page of water transfers, and then a little bit on each one. I wonder, depending on, I'm looking at you because you're gonna do the layout, but gosh, maybe when, I don't know what it means when they say do more real estate on pure water, like how
A
many
spread,
pages?
I'm guessing.
Like
Probably
a couple?
a whole spread.
A spread or two
Yeah.
pages,
Well, this
you know?
might-
Well, yeah, because we have a lot of things, that, you know, that's one of our principal outreach documents, and so that would have to address the concerns about water quality.
Give us some feedback.
Well, what
do
I
we
would
really
say-
need the
I
at your
would-
service?
I would maybe even say that you could do this later. I
At your
think,
service?
I mean, if your idea, if you wanna, what you wanna get to the people is, I mean, you have to identify what you wanna get to the people.
Yeah.
But I think this probably is like the last page,
Okay.
because it's,
The at your service one?
yeah, because it's like, so what's this, you know, you wanna hit them up front with the
The
big
community water
stuff.
plan.
And then I would also say, and this is again labor and probably cost intensive, more labor so, but if there's any way to conduct a few focus groups of your customers to figure out like what are the questions? First of all, are there questions? Do people even think about it? And if they do, or if they think they should, what are
What
the
is it?
questions? Because you can't answer the question unless you know what it is.
Yeah, we've kind of done that in the past, you know, different things, so that would be.
That might be
I
And
think
when
that
you're
we know how to
having a
do it.
lot of misunderstanding and cross communication, it's good to clarify what the questions are so that you can answer them accurately and fully to the questions that are being asked. We find that a lot in the Science Museum world where, you know, as science geeks, we would think, oh, this is a really cool thing, people are gonna get so excited about it. And then you would go and you would say, hey, look at this cool thing, and people would go, and you're like,
Is SpongeBob on there?
Yeah.
That's what I wanna see.
yeah. So, you know, it's not only is it a delivery, it's like, well, you have to meet them where they are.
Mhm.
And that's maybe where we're having a problem. But I don't
That's a
know,
really good point.
focus groups can be conducted just informally in
Yeah.
a situation like this, or they can be this whole huge production thing where you go in a room with a one-way
Yeah.
mirror and, or two-way
I've
mirror.
done it both ways
Yeah.
when I was in the nonprofit world.
Yeah, so,
We did a lot of
you know,
focus groups
yeah.
for the curriculum we would work on.
Mhm.
And I've
Okay, well, then
participated
you
in
know
them
how that
also,
works.
organizing them too, but, yeah, so I don't think we need to be as formal as the ones I did, but,
I know.
I hope. You know, just finding out from, well, similar to this, I think,
Yeah.
but with more customers.
I think it would be it might be really revealing, maybe, I don't know, depending on how much you've done before. But on this particular question,
The information is shared.
like what's happening and people are confused and alarmed.
And what we could do too is, you know, the community water plan is based on, when we did go out, we had focus groups, we had online survey, they're online. We asked them not what is your favorite project, because everybody has a bias kind of on a project, but really what are the values that you have in water or a new water supply, and the top 3 values or the top 4 values were pretty high scoring. We could maybe just hit on those topics too, because that's kind of was an ongoing type of system, yeah.
High quality water, timeliness to develop a project, get a new supply online, and year-round reliability were the top 3.
I think the fourth or fifth was cost.
Cost.
And I think that was what we, because at that stage, back in 2015, the cost of the projects, even with some of them, they're not as refined. They continue to be more refined as the projects get scoped out. We did have estimated cost in here, so. I guess we see how-
I think an important thing to put in an infographic, and that we've done in other kind of publications we've done, is to really talk about what is the amount of water that we need And how much does this supply provide?
Yeah.
Because that's a big misunderstanding.
Well, and it's something that, yeah, it's not clear to
How much
me.
is it?
And when you start talking acre feet, what does that
That
even
mean?
mean? And how does that affect me individually? I mean, everybody, I hate to say it, everybody is egocentric. And so that's another thing I had to learn, hard lesson in science museums. They don't care about, they don't wanna know about it just because it's cool, they wanna know about it. They only wanna, most
does it
people
affect
only
them?
wanna know about it if it impacts them
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah,
And
people are
so-
not science geeks.
Right, so that's why, it was a hard lesson and also really disappointing, but it's really the way, as a marketing person, it's like, if they don't care, they don't care.
I have two really big science geeks on my team.
Well, and that's where the,
And then that's where I
the
balance it out.
translation comes in, right? You
Yeah.
have to
No,
have
it
somebody
does.
who can translate.
And we also have a board
That
that is
is
very,
Very
science.
science-based.
Right.
Yes. Which is
Yes.
great, because I mean, it has to, I love science and I love the facts and I love all that kind of stuff. So for me, I love that challenge and being able to bring it to layman's terms and really get people to understand that really complicated stuff, but in a simple way.
Yeah, we're on the same page. That's what I say I do. I don't do it much anymore, but it's something I love to do.
You have to watch, there's a TED Talk called Talk Nerdy tonight.
Okay,
It's really
that's
good.
hilarious. I will.
We're doing a science-specific presentation in May for the science learners at the library.
Oh, cool.
May 1st or 2nd. Yeah, that'll be the
When will that be?
science. I think it's May 2nd. It's on the first Thursday of the month. Let's see what day is that. It's at the Santa Cruz Public Library. And so Bruce Daniels and Ron Duncan will be talking about the science behind water supplies. Yeah, May 2nd at 6:30.
Great. And that will be downtown
We're
library?
gonna talk nerdy.
Talk Nerdy.
That will be at the downtown library?
Downtown library in the meeting room upstairs. Yeah.
Thank
Put
you.
on through the Museum of Discovery.
Ah,
Cool.
thank you.
Oh, so,
Yeah.
I do have a comment about the community water plan. I did submit written comment to the board after the meeting when the discussion happened. But in looking at the main community water plan, it has some infographics about the supply and basin sustainability. The numbers given in that do not match up with what I'm hearing anyway, at the Mid-County Groundwater agencies and in the modeling that's going on. So I think it would be good to update that information to reflect the current level of knowledge and scientific data that is known regarding those numbers. And to supply the sources of those information in the community water plan. For those who do trip out on geeky things like that, you can go and verify. I always like to go and verify information. I just see this slide up here on the presentation that I guess was given to some group last night by the district. But I see that most of it is in Southern California, and of course the argument, the point that those who are more in favor of surface water is that we don't need it here because we have more water here, and whatever climate model you look at, they all have the common thread of large, intense storms. So if we can capitalize on that, we'll be maybe okay. And the graph that was shown, the chart with the Graham Hill water treatment, well, this is not about this, but it did have some very high numbers in being able to supply a good amount of the time Soquel Creek Water District some water with from surface water transfers. That's the kind of information that I think needs to be put up and juxtaposed against the reported need for this very small plant that will be very energy intensive and drive up district operating costs by $2.5 million a year. So I think that's the kind of information also that people want to hear. Thank you. Oh, and one final comment. In the Santa Cruz City report, they have a very interesting figure that 0%, their demand is flat for the next 20 years. So the district's production is going down, well, although the service connections are going up. So I think that's also good information to include, as Santa Cruz City has done. Thank you.
I do think that we will be sourcing, we do try to source our data, so we will. That's up to
Thank you.
And I do think that the information that the city did share, I think that while there was water, and I don't know where Ron pulled that up, but I think it said that there was either not available, or at max it would be, depending on the different climate models, 45% of the time. So that's where, in terms of the community's value system, water reliability, is that something we want to, from our community at this point, and that's something I think that the board has to do, is that do you want to put your future for 45% of the time, or do you want something that's 70% or 80% or 90%? I think that's kind of where the guiding principles that the board has in terms of how we're going forward with water security is something that is a value system, and is something that you guys have set some criteria. I think again also when we did our water supply planning, that was based on a Monte Carlo of a 70% chance of success right there. So you're already starting at a C level, and then you go to a supply that has a, what is that, 45% D level? No, F level? I mean, those are the kinds of things that are hard to, that you have to communicate in an infographic.
And then it's not either or, it's an and,
Right.
you know, it's not, and, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because I do think that the surface water portion of the community water plan is not surface water or pure water. I think that the information, and I think we do need to communicate and work with the MGA on that, because of the way that the GSP plan is being crafted. It does seem like the two projects complement each other on a smaller scale. On a large scale, they can be somewhat competing. Oh, our next meeting.
Yeah, there's more on that.
Yeah.
In terms of long-term, the future of that, and it came up in a meeting I was in yesterday. So are there any reports or information from committee members? Okay.
Not
And
yet.
then,
Thank you, maybe next time.
do we want to discuss any, just bring up any, we're planning to discuss? The next meeting is 2 months from now.
No, thank you for bringing up
That'll be
thank you for bringing up the April 27th presentation. That's going to go
Yeah.
in front of voters,
Yeah.
as asked. Heidi Luckenbach, Darcy Pruitt, and myself to speak on mid-community water, so.
That's, thank you.
Yeah, right there.
This one.
I didn't see that on the MGA website yesterday.
Well, it just came out,
It
I
just
think.
came out last night.
Oh, okay, great,
I don't
thank you.
know if they've put it yet on, it's not an MGA sponsored event.
Oh, who is
It's
sponsored?
League of
League of
Women
Women
Voters.
Oh, okay, excellent.
It'll be in the MGA e-blast though.
Okay,
Did you
great,
wanna post
thank
it
you.
somewhere?
Oh, no, we can print out some more. I just wanted to. Well, I was bringing it to copy it in case it wasn't in the district,
Well,
but
you
we
should
only have
keep it.
one
I can
member.
look
No,
it
because
up.
I have it on my,
Okay.
I have a PDF. So I guess that's it. That's the adjournment.